Welcome back, everybody, to another courageous conversation with Sin and Sam. Today, we're going to talk about owning the gifts we've been given, owning our authentic self, and stepping into our highest purpose and calling. Sin, take it away. You've got some big news. You had a huge win over the last week. Let's start there. Let's talk about this win that you had, the launching of your book.
Well, good morning, Sam. I am so excited to be here. I know that we talked a little bit offline, and I just want to say thank you because having these conversations truly have helped me. And I want to say thank you. It's really helped me become more of myself. We just talked about, leaning into it and owning it. So I appreciate the opportunity and I thank you very much. Yes, my book launched 1 week ago today. We had a conversation last Sunday and I am in awe.
Yeah.
One of the support of people who traveled to come see me and make sure that I had the support I needed to do this. Writing a book was one of the best things that I have ever done in my life. It has been an eye-opening, rewarding, fulfilling journey, and it didn't even take me that long. The number one question everybody asked me that day was, when did you have time to write a book? When did you have time to write a book? I'm up early. I don't go to bed until late, but I wanted to do it. It was inside of me to share what I have learned. We were talking again a little bit offline, and I say that I don't know my why. I don't know my purpose, but it is finding me. It is truly finding me. The impact that this book that I have written, You Can Do Hard Things, has been absolutely amazing. The feedback, people are just reaffirming that I have a voice, which was difficult for me at points during the book writing process. Who am I to write a book? But the more conversations I have, the more people like you who pour into me and tell me, this is what you see, this is what I see next for you. I truly take that in. I have an affirmation that says, I have an open heart to receive love, joy, and compliments from others. It's a hard thing to receive and really, truly take those in, the compliments and the joy of others, because I think at sometimes you think I'm not worthy, or I'm not, a person of influence or interest, however you want to say it. But I have learned to lean into it and to really receive it in a way that just makes my heart burst with joy, fulfillment. And I do have a voice, and I want everybody to know that they do too. I mean, we also talked about the word serve. And I think that this book really gave me a voice and a purpose to serve others. Being a server in the restaurant industry for probably 20 years. I mean, 13 in the restaurant I now own. But being in the environment of 10X and the GSD community and people talking about serving all the time. I want to serve you. How can I serve you? What can I do for you today? How can I bring value? It really changed my mindset and the level of serving. It gives it a brand new meaning to give it to somebody else. So that is what this book is. And I am so excited to share it with everybody.
Yeah, I think what's so incredible about, this energetic shift of you owning this contribution you are making is that you're at oneness with yourself. You're like, oh, this is what people have been saying to me. And it's starting to integrate into who you are at the core. Yes, you are a person who will leave every individual who comes in contact with you better. Yes, you are. Yes. Right. It's not a question. It's a knowing.
Yeah, right. It's not a question any longer. It's not a wondering. It's not a what if.
Yeah.
I think it's more of an I am.
Yes.
The message from church this morning was how to change your world.
Mm.
And when I came into the 10X community, I really didn't think that it was going to be such a shift.
Mm.
I knew I wanted more. I talk about this in the book in the very first chapter. I knew I wanted more. I knew that there was something bigger. You can call it a calling. I just felt this pull. Like I was in a spot where I needed more. I needed to get out there and see more. So I looked for conferences and exposure, and I found Grant, and then I found Ken, and then I found Coach. And so all of these people sparked little things in me that helped me figure it out. Even you, Sam, I'm telling you, the conversations that we have had and the amount of support and you pouring into me, telling me what you see, where you see me next, it definitely takes a community, a person,
Yes.
somebody to truly help you see the vision that maybe you don't see yourself.
Yeah. I think that's really important to call in on the community aspect of it, right? Because when anybody enters this transformational journey, when somebody decides, okay, there's more for me in life, I've been coasting, I've been doing well, I've even been ambitious,
Mhm.
but this is a fraction of what I'm capable of, then it requires community to help pull it out more. Right? It does start with central knowingness. It starts with you being in yourself, making a decision, a choice, a choosing that
Mhm.
there is something different that will come forward. And then once you do that, your demons will start to come up. So you have to have friends who are willing to guide you along the path, lift you up when you stumble, and continue to highlight and showcase to you each time you are most authentically yourself. I think that's the greatest gift of community is when they highlight to you, this is what you do without thinking. And each time that we receive that gift from somebody else, we anchor back in, oh yeah, I do that. That is something that is innate to my core being. That's not a mask. That's not a facade. That's not, I want to be. It's like, who are you at the core? And at my core, I'm an uplifter. I see things in people because I was silent for so long, because I was introspective for so long, right? I see greatness in others. That is my innate gift. Now, you could say, well, you're a senior analyst in corporate America. You see data, you do data. That's something you do.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I'm really not an analytical person. Here's the kicker. I built a corporate career running analytics and strategy, but I'm not a meticulous human being. Can we talk about that? It's hilarious to me.
It is
And
funny.
it took other people telling me that, like, I'm more of an uplifter. I'm more of a person who sees value in others than an analytical mind. If I was left to my own devices, I would tell you to the ends of the earth and back, I'm an analyst, I'm an analyst, I'm an analyst. No, I'm actually a human connector. I
Which
could have never figured it out.
I know, and it's so funny to me because you just speaking those words, part of the book is being proactive with your growth and not reactive with your life.
Yeah.
Excuse me. It's exactly what you just said.
Mm.
It's the fact of you not knowing, but somebody else seeing it because you're just going with what you know, right? So the reactive part of your life is just doing life day to day. You were an analytical, an analyst, and that's what you knew. So that's what you
Mhm.
did. And until you got the exposure to do something else, so being, growth mindset and putting
Mhm.
yourself in those situations, then you start to really click with other things. And that's the part along the journey when you decide, when you make a decision and you say to yourself, I want more, or this doesn't feel right to me. Yes, I'm doing it. Yes, I'm doing it because that's what life is, because you just do things. But we get stuck in that and we get stuck in that and we get stuck in that. And the best part is when you decide and then you start to grow. And then as you
Yeah.
start to grow, then you get in front of it and then
Yeah.
you see all of the future and everything in the vision. And people don't teach that. People don't teach that. They say, get a job, get married, have some kids, have a great life. But
Yeah.
I mean, that's all perfect if that's what you want. But then there's those where I think that we're just not introduced to it.
Yeah.
right?
Again, it's
So,
that exposure. It's
yeah.
until you have the languaging, you don't understand that the phrases you use are diminutive. Until
Hmm.
you have the frameworks, you don't realize the patterns that you're working through that are disempowering you.
Yeah.
Until you have the exposure to people who are living at 100% integrity, you don't realize how many times throughout your day-to-day life you break promises to yourself, right?
Yep.
That's one of the big lessons of personal growth as well. When you start to realize how many times you are out of alignment, out of synergy, out of congruence with who you are at the core, until you have that awareness, you will continue to fall short of your potential. And I love our community because each and every day we're checking in on each other.
Hmm.
Did you do everything that you said you were going to do? Did you hold yourself to account? Did you keep the promises you made to yourself? Did you keep the promises you made to others? Right. And I think that's a huge growth element that the average citizen in the world does not have. It is about, I know I was raised, be resilient, whatever comes your way, pull up your bootstraps, stare head on and go face it. Never, be reflective, be introspective, think about your feelings. Like, these were not phrases that I grew up with. And the first time I heard them, I was not receptive. I was not receptive to personal development when I first heard about it. I thought it was woo woo and crazy.
Yeah. And,
I
and,
had
and
no
people have
idea
a
how
stigma with
powerful.
it. There's a
Yeah.
stigma with it.
Yeah.
Literally, when I said I was 10X, everybody's like, what's 10X? Or they
Mm.
always said, what's 10 times?
Yeah.
Which is funny because when you're not in it, but I have water bottles, I have my planner,
Mhm.
what's 10 times? And so to explain it to somebody, they literally they look at you like you have three heads.
Mm.
Okay, whatever. But it's amazing once you learn that it doesn't have to be the way everybody else said,
Mm.
and because that's the part that I learned is the stigma of self-development and working on yourself and being better and how do I get better? But it's taken me to this level where now, like we were talking about, touching people's lives and letting them know that yes, they can.
Yeah.
Yes, you can. Just because you weren't taught it before doesn't mean that you can't learn it now.
Yes.
And when I wrote the book, I actually have a line in the book that says, I don't want you to find this out when you're 39 like I was, because I truly believe that when I share, somebody else will get value from it.
Yes.
And it took me a long time to share. So that was one
Yeah.
of my biggest pivotal moments in my growth journey.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Being willing to change your life, even though you have decades of experience going in a different route. That is the exact phrase I used this morning on another interview because it's so raw and so real. Those of us who have been connected for the last 2 years, who are growing exponentially, could have never imagined or written this out in real time. If we had sat and predicted, okay, this is the impact I'm going to make, these are the shifts and changes I'm going to make in my life, if we had been even handed that written out the last 2 years, documented day by day, and then handed that blueprint 2 years ago, we could not have believed it. It was not within us because it is a growth cycle. You amplify, you perceive more as you engage in deeper learning, right?
Yeah.
It takes repetition, it takes consistency, it takes authenticity, it takes raw and realness. And when you stumble, it takes your community being the ones to lift you up sometimes, and others, it's you getting down in the deep, dark depths of hell and pulling yourself back up.
That's the
There's a
biggest thing.
balance.
That's the
There's a
biggest thing for
balance.
me.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it has to come from you. So you're saying if somebody handed you your script, basically, right?
Yeah.
If somebody handed you your script, you'd be like, that's not mine. You have to do the work. Somebody can't do it for you. They can't just hand it to you and say, here you go. Like there's a process that comes along with it. The authenticity for me comes with me learning it along the way.
Yeah.
If somebody just handed it to me, what's the fun in that? Like I really embrace the journey. Every single person that I have made a connection with, every single person that pours into me, what happens if we didn't have that? If somebody just handed us the script and said, here you go, this is what you're supposed to do, and this is who you're supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
That's
Well,
not.
and think about the friendships you make along the way. You make them in those moments because that's the moment you needed their connection, their education, their experience, their journey. And
I
that's my favorite part.
I love you. I remember the first time we met. And do you remember? I still have the picture. Do you have the picture I took of you? And you were like, you looked at that picture and you were had the biggest smile on your face. We were at 10X and we
Yeah.
were in the hangar.
Mhm. It was the
And
only picture I allowed from that event.
yep,
One of the only pictures. And for me, you can see the pure joy in it. But if you didn't know that that is what my pure joy looked like, it's a lot of face.
well, no, but
It's a-
the feeling of the glow, like when
yeah.
you saw it, that was a moment, right? In our journey, how we met, why we are part of each other's lives. And look at us now. Look at us
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. I repost that picture every once in a while. And I said, this is what pure joy looks like in a moment.
That's
Because it was.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's
Seated
amazing.
position because I still wasn't strong enough to like be super active during that thing. But like it was just pure joy in the moment.
It
Seeing
was a,
everybody together.
it was
Yeah.
a good moment. And I think that we need to really, we do life so quickly sometimes. We need to take
Mm.
those moments. We need to take those moments and really digest them. Just the same with the book. It happened so quickly, the launch and everything. It's truly taken me almost a full week to just sit and go, wow, what an amazing accomplishment. Yesterday, we talked about I went to the beach because I needed something bigger. I needed something to just really ground myself and say, wow, this is an accomplishment. You wrote a book and it's going to touch so many people's lives. And I'm
Mhm.
very, very proud of it. And I can't wait to see what's next.
Yeah, I absolutely love every bit of this conversation today. I honestly hope that everybody watching, listening, tuning in, you see the love and power that is coming out of authentic engagement, right?
Yeah.
Showing up.
Yeah. Showing up. And thank you for having me. Sorry, we were a little late today.
It's all good. Well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in for another courageous conversation with Sin and Sam. We will be together again next week.
Yay. Thank you so much, Sam.